kicks on, but it's Ha-Ha Slipper. Ha-Ha's won the Golden Slipper.
Oliver's lifting him, and Fiorente won the Melbourne Cup for Gai.
Even when we saw Damien Oliver, the jockey's introduction coming up, and the cheer for both of Gai's horses as well, Traveller as well. That's the very
Jumped in with Gai Waterhouse.
Congratulations on being awarded the 2025 Davo Award, named after the great former cricketer in Allan Davidson, one of the founders of the New South Wales Carbine Club. And of course, previous winners, we have the likes of John Coates, Ronnie Quinton, John Tapp, Mark Ella, Gordon Bray, so many other luminaries of sport and industry in New South Wales. And you fit right in.
It's very exciting, Carol. To think that I've been even thought of for the award is wonderful. It's nice to be able to be recognised in your own lifetime. Very important.
Very true. And I mean, the award winners in the past, you know, they're all AMs and OAMs and ACs, and of course, we know you're an AO. So it is quite special also that a lot of those individuals would have known TJ pretty well. They were all elite.
They were all elite sportsmen, and they played in a special field that only the best of the best are able to compete in. And Dad was probably arguably the greatest trainer Australia's produced, for the number of Group 1 winners, for the number of the horses he trained to win races and to win them at group level. And from the humble beginning he started. You know, it's a wonderful story of what I'd say a real Australian legend.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is the thing that we're trying to impart to people today, with whether it be cricket or, you know, rugby league, AFL or rugby union, any of the sports. Racing has such a part of Australia's history, hasn't it? I mean, it really is what our culture, we were brought up with horse racing, you know, every country town, a pub, you know, a church and a racetrack, and it is still very much part of our culture, isn't it?
Very much so. And if you go back to my husband's family, they brought the first racehorses, the Waterhouses, to Australia. And to think that Hyde Park was our first racetrack right in the centre of Sydney. You get a race like the Melbourne Cup, 166, 65 years old. You know, they love racing. I say to people, it's the one place everyone can go and everyone's equal. The old saying, above and below the turf. But you can take your family there, boyfriends and girlfriends can go, a whole lot of mates can go. It's just a great place, a great sport.
Yeah, it certainly is. And of course, growing up with the legend that is TJ Smith, your father, what was it that really captured you from the outset about racing? Was it the horse? Was it the fun of meeting all those different people from different backgrounds? You obviously were artistic yourself. You did the acting. We all know the Doctor Who, sort of, you know, featuring in Doctor Who. What was it that sort of drew you back to racing?
Well, I think being so admiring of my father, and every morning over breakfast, Dad and I would sit closer than we're sitting now, and I'd listen to him talk to all the leading business people, all the politicians. It was fascinating. So I was riveted from a very early age, listening to this great man, just be able, who had no education, talk to all these people who had so much education and were so successful. And he just built an empire, you know, and I couldn't help but sort of love him and admire him.
And of course, you've built an empire yourself now. We look at the wonderful staff you have, the champion racehorses that you've trained to win, you know, Fiorente with the Melbourne Cup. You've had, you know, you mentioned before, we were talking about Piero as a champion 2-year-old who became a leading stallion. So many of these horses, you know, that you've created your own dynasty yourself. What are some of the horses that to you stand out in that maybe kind of tested you a bit, or just have a bit more of your heart maybe than some of the others?
Well, just recently, Vauban was probably one of my biggest tests. And I love a test, I love a challenge. And, you know, just his mannerisms and that, I thought, well, we're not going to get you to improve on your past performances in the Cup. Let's see if we can just go back to basics. And I'm a great believer in stepping sideways to move forward.
And some of them, I guess, have left a legacy as well, you know, as at stud, you know, some of your Golden Slipper winners and those sorts of, you know, the fillies. It's quite outstanding, isn't it, the way the evolution of racing continues into the next generations for people that follow it.
And it's amazing. I'm looking at a filly only yesterday over at the barriers, and I thought, gosh, I was only training a mother about a year or two ago. It seemed like it. But, you know, I love buying from families I know. I love to buy beautiful fillies. They don't have to be expensive, but I'm looking to try to turn them into great value for the owners. So if I can win a Gimcrack Stakes like we did with Shiki this year, she'll go on to be a $2 or $3 million filly. Already she's a $2 million filly, just winning the Gimcrack Stakes. So if they can win those early races, Caroline, they get more chance to get a return to the owner, and that's what it's all about. Well, the staying horses are very interesting because they take a lot more work, and I love the staying races. I think they're the most interesting races we have in Australia, but the horses that make the stallions are the speed 2-year-olds. That's what everyone wants. They might say they want the staying horse, but the horse they pay the big money for, the 28, the 38, the 40 million for the likes of Sebring, Pierrot, Vancouver, all of them, were all about speed. And that's Australia is literally our breeding industry is based on speed.
And I think a lot of the success of a race like the Everest is that we're seeing the best sprinters, potentially in the world that are racing there. I mean, there's wonderful marketing and great seeing all the young, and it's reinvigorated racing in a lot of ways. But to me, it's still the fact that they are the best sprinters lining up, and everyone wants to see who's going to win.
Well, very much so. You only have to see what the Australian horse is going to Ascot. They may not even be the best of the best we have here, but they absolutely stand alone against the European and the English sprinters.
And then just getting back to the Melbourne Cup, though, that is the one, when you placed with Tiakal Nick early in your career, to then go on and win it, I mean, it is still the race that stops the nation. It is still the race, even if some people might be saying up to the cup or be anti-racing, there's still a lot of prestige and a lot of desire to win that race, isn't there?
It's a wonderful ride, Caroline, that they go on, because it's a build-up over many, many months, sometimes for several years. And you get caught up in it, and then, you're going from one race to another. You might go from the Caulfield Cup or any of those, the Sydney Cup or whatever it is, and you're building and building and building to this crescendo of a race, which is the Melbourne Cup. And because there aren't many two-mile races, 3,200 metres in Australia, it's a bit of a speciality.
And we mentioned the great team you have around you. Of course, Adrian Bott, your co-trainer, is one of them, and so many other wonderful young people and older people that work for the Waterhouse Bott training establishment. But how do you incentivise them to have a winning culture, the same sort of winning attitude that you yourself have?
I think you've got to have attention to detail, and you've got to make them lift to another level, which you're really asking the horses to do. So you're asking the boys and girls who are working with the horses and the horses to say, come on, let's lift it up. And so they get on a ride because they live the horses. They're not here because they have to, they're here because they want to. They want to be with the horse. No one's asking people to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning, but they're here because they want to be with the horses. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And I find great pleasure in working with the people.
And they do love these horses. I mean, I was saying today to someone I was doing a story with, the stable staff, they remember these horses. Even when they're off track and they're show jumping or they're doing something else, they love seeing the horses they worked with.
They very much follow them. And they follow everything about them, be it in the stable or after. Someone sent me a photo of a horse that I'd trained, Grand Connection, and he's 30-something years old. It was lovely.
And you care for the staff as well. I mean, Hugo Palmer was here recently, who's now a leading English trainer, trains for Michael Owen, the former Premier League footballer. And he was saying, when he sees you, you'll be telling him something he should be doing. He's doing something the wrong way. But you genuinely care for them to improve their lives, to go on with whatever they do in business.
I want to, yes, because, a lot of the kids we have here haven't got the education that you or I have been privileged to or privy to. And so, they're hard often to find a place, but they've found their niche, and if they can improve where they look better, feel better and perform better, they can go on to do anything.
The people that are worried about, whether supposedly wagering's declining or people want to stop horse racing, there's still enough support for the industry for it to thrive, isn't there, in Australia?
I think so. I think that all this going on about horse racing, I don't think we've got anything better to do. The number of people who love horse racing in Australia far outweigh the sort of wave of silliness that's going on.
And Robbie, obviously your husband, Robbie Waterhouse, is very proud of you. We can see in so many of the tweets that he puts out or whatever it is on X or whatever, there's a great family that you have brought up together with your children as well, which is just magnificent to see, with Kate and Tom and now their children, and I know little Sophia, she's a real little rider as well. So, what does that mean to you now, seeing the next generation falling in love with horses?
There's a very strong tailwind. Do you understand what that is?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's like the wind will.
The wind's up your bum.
Yeah.
So you use that and that'll push him forward. Look at me. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Here they go. They're about to start. Here we go. You ready? It's lovely. I get such a kick out of watching the grannies, I call them, you know, riding and, yeah, I don't know if they're going to follow in any of our footsteps, but just as long as they enjoy the horse, that's the most important.
And the horses themselves, what are the things that you see when you're looking at a yearling? Is it its overall presence when it walks out? I mean, obviously there's conformation, pedigree, you know, how they've been raised, the vendors, who's selling them is all important. But what to you is it that sort of clinches it for you, looking at a yearling?
They've got to have something. They've got to have a bit of the X factor. I say it's like a guy looking at a girl. You can't describe it. He looks at a girl and he says, there's a good sort. You know, it's like me looking at the horse. I'll think, there's something about it, the way he moves or the way he carries his head or his alertness or his intelligence or whatever it might be, that when I look at him, I think, there's something there, I really like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing.
You know, you're renowned for being very good on bringing owners to the industry and showing them how brilliant the industry is. It's hard though, isn't it, to attract new people? What are sort of some of the things you try and do to not only get owners, but to keep owners within racing? I mean, success is obviously a big part of it, but it is a business, isn't it?
Oh, it is a business. And look, to get people to realise that it's most accessible and very inexpensive. You know, to think these syndicators, you know, my racehorse, a perfect example, you know, you can have a microchip, you know, share of, you know, so many dollars a month. What a wonderful idea. Yeah. You know, so we have them from people who hold multiple horses down to people who might only have a tiny share, but they all feel that's their horse. Yes. They don't think about, I've only got a 100th or 1,000th share. They think, there's my horse, which is great.
And it is a camaraderie, isn't it, to be involved with a racehorse?
Oh, unbelievable.
It's magnificent, isn't it?
Unbelievable. You see them on the television on Saturday, they're all hugging and kissing each other, and, you know, I laugh at it really, but it's great.
Yeah,
it's really,
it
good.
Is, isn't it? And of course, you broke down a lot of barriers for women in the racing industry. We see so many more women who are trainers and jockeys and working in the industry, but it's still quite a blokey game, isn't it?
Very much a man's game, but I think that makes you stronger. You know, if you're good at what you do, it makes no difference what sex you are. You know, if you're good and you're producing winners, people want to be part of the team. So that's how I look on it. I just go on. I say I'm not a woman walking on the racetrack. I'm a trainer walking on the racetrack.
And attracting new staff too. It's another big thing. I mean, the careers within racing are amazing. For, you know, whether it's within a sales company, marketing, within a stable, within a stud farm, so many options are there for people to get involved.
There are, but a lot of people don't quite know how to do it.
That's right.
And so I suppose the biggest thing is to educate them and let them know, you know, this is available, you know, through the sales company. This is available coming to our stables and working, or maybe interviewing, or whatever the line of area they want to go into.
And so what's ahead for Gai Waterhouse now? Obviously, you know, more yearling inspections towards the end of the year, heading overseas, then Magic Millions, into more carnival racing next year. What is it that you're really looking forward to the most?
Well, this afternoon, I'm going to the touch football with 2 of the grandchildren, and then I'm going to dinner with the other 3 from both sides of the family. So that's my immediate enjoyment. I love the grandchildren. I love being involved with the young ones. I just enjoy, at present I'm on a path of looking at all the yearlings going to Magic Millions. And that's a big task because there's 1,400 of them to see before January 13th. And the other thing is, of course, the second session doesn't really come until right at the end of the sale. So you've got to really try to spread yourself into seeing the second session. So you're not, you know, some of my best horses, Fat Al, who won an Epsom, came out for $25,000 out of the second session. The Playwright came out of the second session, multiple, you know, stakes-winning filly, and they were inexpensive. So I want to be able to be on the forefoot, so I'm at least seen them and got a feel of them before January 13th.
Yeah, there's a lot to do, and that's only coming up in January, a couple of months away. But Gai, it's been a pleasure spending the time with you, and congratulations on winning the 2025 Davo Award. You're in esteemed company, and you deserve to be there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thrilled to receive